One of the more underrated positions in the NFL is, of course, the safety position, and the 2026 NFL Draft is filled with a number of really intriguing safety prospects. So in today's video, we're going to be ranking my top 10 safeties in the 2026 NFL Draft. Hit that like and subscribe button if you're new and going to enjoy. Let's hop into it. And we are going to begin at number 10 with Cole Wisniewski out of Texas Tech. I apologize if I was wrong with that pronunciation. I did my best there. So Cole is a very fun, interesting prospect to break down because he's a big ass dude, man. We're talking somebody who's 6'3", 200 something pounds. I believe he was a former linebacker converted to safety, and he's somebody who you can kind of see the instincts of a linebacker in his play. He likes to play really around the, playing a little bit in the box. He's a sound physical tackler who gets downhill. He moves very well for his size, for his position. He did not run a 40, but most of his other measurables were pretty good at his pro day, so I'm not too worried about the 40. Not expecting him to run like a 4.4. He's probably more like a 4.5 type of guy, but that's totally fine. I mean, again, we're talking about somebody who is 6'3", 210 plus pounds, kind of a smaller linebacker build. I like him a lot in the box. I think he feels a lot more comfortable there. He moves very well. He's got good change of direction skills to match tight ends and safeties, which I think is what you're going to ask him to do a lot of with his size, with his range. If he's going to be out there on the defense, you're probably going to have him playing a lot inside the box as sort of like a plus run defender, somebody who's going to cover a lot of the slot receivers, the tight ends, your more physical, bigger guys. Now, he does have a lot of injuries to his name, and because of that athletic, limitations, I guess you'll call it, I do think in some matchups, especially against like shifty, more athletic slot receivers, he's going to struggle a little bit more. Especially last year, he's not really much of a playmaker. That was more of like Jacob Rodriguez's role. So again, I don't think that this is somebody who's going to have a huge role at the NFL level. I do think for the most part, you're asking him to probably play a lot on special teams, to be that plus defender in the run game, kind of a rotational safety that's going to play a lot inside the box. If he can stay healthy, if he could put it all together with the right coaching, I think he could be a really good, serviceable player. Kind of in the same vein, if you're a Cowboys fan out there, I can't remember the guy's name, but there was a safety, like a bigger safety, who used to play really close to the line of scrimmage, was sort of that plus run defender, would cover the tight ends, things like that. Expect him to do that sort of stuff. Moving over to number 9, we got Genesis Smith out of Arizona. I really wish that I could like Genesis Smith a ton more because he literally has everything to his physical look, his athletic profile, to be somebody who should be an excellent football player. He's 6'2", 202 pounds. You can see at the combine, didn't run a 40, but I do think he's a good enough athlete. Had a 42.5-inch vert, ridiculous. 10-foot 8-inch broad jump, 4.18 20-yard shuttle. Really solid productivity. I mean, this guy was just an absolute ball player for Arizona. The issue with Genesis Smith, and it's an issue that is a very real problem that honestly could make him somebody who's kind of a liability out there. He is a poor run defender. He does not want to get downhill and be physical at all. Very inconsistent with his angles, with his pursuit, with his effort in terms of physicality. It's concerning, but there's so much good stuff about his coverage ability, right? The size, the length, the athletic ability. He changes directions very well, very fluid hips, could play multiple positions, was a multiple year starter in Arizona, right? High leadership, high IQ type of guy, like very high end coverage skills. But at the same time, the lack of run defense. And look, if you're going to be that third level of defense, you got the defensive line, your linebackers, and if you're going to be missing tackles, which he had 18 missed tackles last year, if you're going to be missing tackles at that type of level, you kind of become a liability against the run game. And teams are going to start kind of singling you out and saying, okay, we're going to put you one-on-one with Saquon Barkley. Can you make the play? More often than not, it was no at Arizona. So that's my big concern with Genesis Smith. He's got so much going for him. He's a bigger, taller guy. So you feel like he can be a good run defender if he can really just start to put his nose down in the dirt and do so. But we'll have to wait and see if he can ever get there. I think this is somebody with a ton of upside, can be a very good football player, but just has to become a better run defender, or else he's going to be somebody who is limited with his role. Because if you're not a good run defender, if you can't tackle, you're also not really viable on special teams either. So that also kind of adds to his profile and makes him a bit concerning. Next up at number 8, we got Jalen Kilgore, the South Carolina safety / corner. I wanted to emphasize the / corner part with Jalen Kilgore. I'm very high on Jalen Kilgore. I think this guy is a really talented football player. You can see here, 6'1", 210 pounds, 4.4, 40-yard dash, 1.56, 10-yard split, 37-inch vert, 10-foot 10-inch broad jump, even in the 20-yard shuttle, and 16 on the bench, with, for the most part, pretty solid productivity. He's sort of a raw piece of clay. You kind of remember Nicky Monwari from last year's draft, where he had a lot of concerns coming out of South Carolina, right? Just a ton of them. He went to the right system. They put him in the right place. He got coached up a little bit, and obviously he had an incredible rookie season. I think that this is somebody in Jalen Kilgore who a multiple-year starter for South Carolina, like I believe a 3-year starter. But I still feel like his best football is way, way, way ahead of him. I don't think this is somebody who's even close to tapping into his full potential. I genuinely do believe that this is somebody who's actually going to be a better pro player than he was in college. Because in college, he was good. I mean, he definitely has some, issues and things like that. Most of it just comes down to technique and nuance more than anything. But he's got everything going his way. Really explosive athlete, played a lot in the nickel. I think you could also move him a little bit closer, to the line of scrimmage, like a box safety, play him a little bit deep as well. He's just going to be moved all across the defense, kind of like his teammate Nicky Monwari was. But with that length, with that size, that athletic ability, with some of the improvements we've seen year in and year out, and how he looks in man coverage and how comfortable he is playing out there in space, like he could be a good football player. He's just very technically not there right now, right? Flipping his hips and running, it's a bit odd. I wish he was a little bit more physical against the run, which for somebody of his size, he's going to have to be, especially playing a probable role inside the nickel, close to the box, things like that. He's a good run defender, but I want him to be a little bit more physical. And he's just got to be a lot more consistent. But if he can reach his ceiling, I mean, we're talking about somebody who's going to be taken inside probably the top 100. If he can reach his ceiling, like he can genuinely be an impactful player very early on with the right coaching. You're starting to see kind of this trend of these bigger sort of box/nickel defenders. You're looking at Kyle Hamilton, Nicky Monwari. You're going to see some other guys in this year's class we're going to talk about. Kilgore could be kind of that high upside swing you take on day 2. Hope you get the right coaching. Hope you get the right guys around him. And he could be a damn good football player, man. Next up at number 7, I have Bud Clark from TCU. I want to give a big shout out to my one of my co-hosts on the First and 10 podcast, link in the description, my guy Brandon Ross. He's the first guy who kind of brought up Bud Clark to me. And of course, I knew who Bud Clark was in past years, but I wasn't really like tapped into his scouting and where he was going to look at into the draft. And he brought him up in one of our videos. And ever since then, I've watched a lot of Bud Clark tape. And you saw him at the Senior Bowl, you saw him at the Combine. He's rising up depth charts for big time reasons. He's 6 foot 188, not the biggest, kind of more of a slender built guy, but still pretty good size. Elite productivity, 4 interceptions, really good Combine results, 4.41, 156, 38 vert, 10'7" broad jump. And you can see here, he blew up at the Senior Bowl. And it's really difficult, by the way, to show out as a person in the secondary at the Senior Bowl, because you're talking about playing next to guys you've never played with before. So communication, miscommunications, it's very difficult, right? Because you never played with these guys before. All these guys run different systems. And now you're supposed to play, secondary together with guys you've never played with before. Oh, and they're constantly rotating bodies in. It's very difficult to look good at the Senior Bowl. And Bud Clark did so, right? Showing that physicality, showing off the playmaking ability, showing off his burst and twitch. There's a lot to like about Bud Clark's game. There's also a lot to not like about Bud. He's a playmaker. He's a good space eater. His instincts are really good at times when they want him to be. I believe, has receiver chops to his game. Like he goes up and attacks the football very well. I mean, he is a true difference maker in the back end. Now, cons, he is a very risky player. He is going to risk it sometimes for the biscuit, which sometimes that could lead to some lowlights with this guy, where he's staring down the quarterback and the quarterback delivers a ball where he probably should have been had he been a little bit more disciplined with his eyes. As a run defender, he's not necessarily a great one. He's only 188 pounds. And while, yes, he can put the hit on people, as we saw at the Senior Bowl, for the most part, he's not really a reliable tackler, right? He's more so just, I'm going to drag you by your feet type of guy, which is fine. I mean, as a third level defender, just bring the guy down by all means. But he's not great at it still. His gambling leads to some of the highest highlights of his game, but also the lowest of his lowlights to his game, where sometimes he'll make a very risky jump, very risky play, and you're like, that guy has it. He understands it. And then other times it's like, man, stop locking in on the quarterback. Stop locking in on a read and play your position. Play it properly. Quit trying to do all this extra stuff. He's also dealt with some injuries in his past, but I still think he's a solid prospect that, if I'm like the New York Jets, who just struggled mightily to create any sort of turnovers last year, him and Minkah Fitzpatrick could actually make for a pretty fun duo. I think he will be taken somewhere on day 2 because the name of the game on defense is turnovers, man. Turnovers completely change the script of a game. And if you can find somebody who's really good at it, I don't think you'd not take him. So I like Bud Clark. I'm a little bit pessimistic on whether or not he's going to be able to fully translate that turnover ability to the NFL level at a very high level. But I still think he could be very good at it. So yeah, I would take him somewhere on day 2. Moving over to number 6, we got Zakee Wheatley, the Penn State safety. So Zakee Wheatley is kind of like almost a polar opposite of a Bud Clark. He's a below-ish average athlete, compared to other safeties in this year's class. You can see here, this was at his pro day, not the combine, but a 4.62 40-yard dash, 33-inch vert, 10-foot 4-inch broad jump. Really good production. He's a bigger guy, 6'3", 203 pounds. I think he can honestly probably stack on another 10 pounds of weight, just, good weight to his size, especially if he's going to be a kind of a slower-ish safety. I think if he can pack on about 10 more pounds, that would definitely benefit him. There's a lot to like about this guy in terms of coverage, in terms of feel for the defense, in terms of just making the constant right play. He usually does so, right? Not a lot of like standout traits to this guy. In terms of like Bud Clark's standout trait is he's a really good high-level playmaker, right? Jalen Kilgore, high-level versatility, high-level upside. Cole Wisniewski, high-level size, mass, playing inside the box. And several of these other guys in this class will talk about their high-level stuff. When it comes to Zakee Wheatley, I would say maybe his best pro is just his play recognition, right? Always making the right plays. He's always just playing sound football. And for some, that might be okay. Like if you're a team that just is a horrendous defense that just needs guys who are going to do the right job, like a Dallas, like a New York Jets, things like that, then Zakee Wheatley makes a ton of sense. But if you have a defense that's pretty good and now you're just kind of looking for playmakers, guys that can specifically bring one strong attribute to your defense, I'm not sure Wheatley's quite your guy because he's just a solid football player that does the right things. But isn't really going to make a ton of splash plays out there, right? He had one interception last year. He's not like a high-level playmaker. He's not a high-level like run defender, but he's a good run defender. He's very tall and right now a little bit lanky. At least he was while he's playing. So that height can kind of hurt him a little bit as a tackler. If he can kind of keep his pad level down, I think he'll be fine tackling-wise. He's also a kind of an older-ish prospect, but I don't know. Like, you just turn on his tape and you're like, this guy just plays the position the right way, but he's not great at any one thing, right? I mean, I feel really safe. It's kind of why I have him towards the middle of my list here. It's just like, I know he's going to be a good player. Is he going to be a great player? Probably not. But is he going to be a good football player that can play multiple years for a variety of teams? Yeah, probably. He'll serve his role. He'll do his job. And if you compare some playmakers next to him, guys that have elite traits, then Zakee Wheatley is going to be a totally worth it, third or second round pick. So yeah, not a ton of high level stuff from Zakee Wheatley, but I think he gives you a really high floor with a pretty moderately sized ceiling too. So for the most part, fun football player. Wish he would have been a bit more testy. A 4.62 at the combine's not great, but it could be worse. Next up at number 5, I got Kamari Ramsey. I would venture to say this is probably my riskiest bet in this year's class because he played a lot in the nickel this year. And the tape this year was nowhere near the 2024 tape we saw when he was playing more of that safety role. I just felt like in the nickel, he just looked a little bit more lost. I mean, he was playing completely out of position. And Lord knows why USC did that. I feel like had they just played him in his proper role, which is the safety position, which is what I think he will play at the NFL level, they would have had a really good safety back there in Kamari Ramsey. But they played him a lot in the nickel, and it just didn't really suit his skill set, right? You could just tell the instincts weren't there. He was a step slow behind on things. Against the run, he was capable, but not necessarily great at it. Don't get me wrong, he had some good games, some good plays, and things like that. And I definitely think at the NFL level, with this experience playing the nickel, he can definitely give you a couple snaps out there as well. But I think that 2024 tape, when he was just playing deep and playing a little bit more versatile back there, I liked what I saw, man. Really high level play recognition. Like he just sees plays. He knows how to do things. Really strong instincts, passing things off in zone, man instincts, just change of direction skills, playing in off coverage. He's very good at that. I think as a run defender, when he's playing deep, he's very capable of being that third level run defender that can get downhill and make the final tackle. Like he just does a lot of things very well. It's just you kind of have to just throw away the 2025 tape, which is a little bit risky because after 2025, does he still have the confidence, the skills to play deep like he did in 2024? I'd venture to say the answer is probably yes. Again, really decent size, 6'2", 202, and the combine results are also very solid: a 4.47, 157, 36 vert, 10 foot broad, and a 16 on the bench, with decent productivity. But again, I really think his best skills is just playing deep, right? He has really good instincts for the position, and I also think he could just be a bit more of a playmaker than some of these other guys in this class. And having that experience playing at the nickel too, I think should also serve him well. So I like Kamari Ramsey. I'm willing to take the bet on him. Next up at number 4, we have AJ Halsey, the LSU safety. There's a lot to like about AJ Halsey, man. He's a bigger, more dense built guy, 6 foot 215. And while the combine results aren't going to blow you away, I thought these are some really solid numbers for AJ Halsey. 4.52 and a 1.62 10-yard split. You can see here, really good productivity. 88 total tackles, 50 solo, 3 interceptions, 4 pass breakups. Just this is a downhill, more of a box safety. He can definitely play a little bit deep as well, but I like him a lot when he's playing close to that line of scrimmage, sort of playing, inside the nickel, playing close to the box, getting downhill, being physical against the run. He is a tenacious run defender, just really strong and gives a ton of effort as a run defender. He's not the highest level athlete, which could lead to some, change of direction skills issues, especially if he's going to be covering a slot corner or a slot receiver who's maybe a bit more shifty. He might struggle in man coverage against those type of guys. Tight ends like a Eli Stowers type of guy could give him some work at times. But if he's going up against these bigger, physical tight ends, I mean, he can match physicality with these guys. He's really physical, really good with his hands, great ball skills, like really good playmaker. For me, it just kind of comes down to the fact that he's not a high level athlete, which can limit him a tad bit when going up against shiftier guys. That all said, within certain roles, I think he can be such a good football player. Just kind of playing in that overhang position, just making plays constantly out there on the field, being a team leader sort of guy. I mean, he's somebody who can be an impactful guy right away. Give him a few years. I mean, he could be a nightmare for some teams. So yeah, AJ Halsey, I like him as like an early day 2 pick. Then we get into the big 3, and at number 3, I have Dylan Thieneman out of Oregon. So his 2024 tape at Purdue, I thought was a little bit better. Granted, that Purdue team was straight up horrendous. So any type of competent play looked really good. And that was, of course, Dylan Thieneman. He transferred to Oregon. I still thought his Oregon tape was really solid. Maybe not like high level like the Purdue stuff was, but still very good. And of course, like the increase of competition, the increase of stakes, thought it was really good from Dylan Thieneman here. I mean, very productive, high level athlete. You can see 6 foot, 200 something pounds, 78-inch wingspan, 4'3", 540, 152, 10-yard split, 41-inch vert, 10 foot 5-inch broad, and an 18 on the bench, with really good production this past season. He is just somebody that does all things very well. He's really good just getting downhill, playing with his hair on fire. A lot of his highlights are just him just kind of shooting gaps or, handling, horizontal, zone runs where he's just really pushing it downfield, playing with his hair on fire. He's a good tackler. I do think at times he can be a little bit over aggressive when he's trying to get downhill, but sometimes that can play in his favor and it doesn't really hurt him a ton out there. But he's a fluid athlete with a really high IQ, good instincts and feel, can play a variety of positions. You want to play him in the nickel, you want to play him inside the box, you want to play him deep. He can kind of do all those sort of things at a very high level. Again, 4.35 with that type of production, with that size and length, it's really hard to find those guys. I mean, even the 2 guys in front of him, they're not the athlete that Dylan Thieneman is. They're good athletes, high-level athletes. They're not, 4.35, 41-inch vert type of guys with that size as well. But, I mean, he just diagnoses plays. He gets downhill. He's not afraid to get his head dirty, just making big hits and things like that. Not afraid to go up for it when the ball is up in the air. You can really see like that interception versus Drew Aller to, end off the Penn State game. I mean, that's all instincts and playmaking ability right there. Just a lot to like about his game. If he can kind of hone in that over aggressiveness at times and maybe add on a little bit more. I mean, he did 18 on the bench, so I'm not sure how much more you want to add strength wise, but just play with a little bit more strength. I mean, this guy could easily be a round 1 pick, and you're starting to hear that, man. Like, we've seen him now start getting conversations in top 15 picks. A little rich for my liking. I like him more as like a 20 to 25 type of guy, but I mean, he's just gonna be a good football player, man. Like that's just what he's gonna be. But then we get to my number 2, and at number 2, I have Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. You're gonna see a lot of people trying to compare him to Nicky Manwari, and I only comp him to Nicky Manwari because I think he's gonna play a very similar role to him. But I don't think they're like the same type of prospect. I think they're a little bit different in terms of prospects. But you can see here, man, you can see I did make the comp to him, but more so play style. Great size, 6'3", 201 pounds. I also feel like he can probably pack on a little bit more weight as well if he wants to. He doesn't have to. Good length, good wingspan. Went to the combine, and no, he did not light it up like Dylan Thieneman did. I still thought these were some pretty sharp numbers for his play style. 4'5", 240, 158, 10-yard split, 35-inch vert, 10'2" broad jump. Lots of great production here. 77 total tackles, 2 picks, 6 pass deflections, 36 solo tackles. I think he's at his best when he's playing inside the box. Again, that Nicky Manwari, play the nickel, play almost as like a pseudo linebacker at times, play deep on the occasion, all those sort of things. He just does so much high-level stuff. His route recognition, when it's on point, is so good. Now, I think instinctually he's still getting better, especially when he's playing in zone, playing a little bit more deep. It's still growing a little bit. It's getting there, though. It's really good. There are some plays on tape where, I mean, sometimes it's like you could just tell this guy was staying up all night watching film because he's just running routes for these guys, or he's going to the exact spot where he knows that quarterback's going to go to. A lot of his pass deflections, interceptions are just him showing off such a high IQ for the game and just being right where he needs to be at the right time. As a run defender, he's a high-level run defender. Really physical against the run, really physical at redirecting receivers and tight ends. I just think this is a complete weapon for your defense, right? No matter where you play him at, with that size, that length, that physicality, with good enough athleticism for my liking, and the way that he feels the game, and just the level he can potentially get to, I mean, you can very easily see him playing that Kyle Hamilton, Nicky Monroy type of role for many years to come for a defense that's looking for that type of guy. I just think he's such a good run defender. And as the NFL defense continues to evolve and continues to look for these hybrid, multi-positional players, Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, to me, is the next guy in this class who can just play so many roles and has that length and size and athletic ability that I think every team will covet. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up like a top 20 pick. I think he's totally worth it. I think he's just a fantastic football player. That another guy, my guy Brandon Ross, brought this guy up to me kind of early in the season, brought my attention to him. And since then, I've just been like, yeah, this guy, he's got it, man. He absolutely has it. But then, of course, we get to our number one, and it is, of course, Caleb Downs. One of the few blue chip prospects in this class. And yes, I call him a blue chip prospect. To me, there's really only maybe three of them if you're really pushing it, and that's Caleb Downs. I would give Sonny Styles it just because he's a linebacker. And linebackers, not much positional value, but I still think he's a blue chip prospect for the linebacker position. And I also give it to Jeremiah Love. Caleb Downs, and you guys will see it right here. I wrote this here. Caleb Downs is every defensive coordinator's dream. He is a winner with elite football IQ, versatility, and top-level coverage skills. And I 100% back that up. Now, to the best of my knowledge, I could not find any sort of, statistics for his pro day or combine. I did see some tape of him moving around and things like that. One thing that could knock him down is there are some concerns about a potential knee injury. I don't know how real they are. That's one of those things where it's probably going to be kept under wraps by his camp, and individual teams are just going to have to do medicals on him every time he visits them. Like, that's just what's going to be for him, that process. But he is like, you watch Ohio State film, and I say this every single time I talk about an Ohio State defender. It's incredible to watch because it's very unusual to have so many NFL, like, high-level guys on one defense. Because you're sitting there, you're like, oh, I'm going to watch Sonny Styles this play. And then Arvell Reese flashes. Or, oh, I'm going to watch Caden Curry this play. And then Caden McDonald flashes. Okay, now I'm going to go watch Davison Igbinosun. And then you're looking at the skills of Caleb Downs flash. So many high-level guys. But Caleb Downs, the guy that, to me, him and Caden McDonald, which is why Caden McDonald's my defensive tackle one, they constantly are popping out on tape. Caleb Downs is such a high IQ football player. He is always in the right place. He understands leverage. He's such a good run defender. In coverage, he's so highly instinctual. You don't go to Alabama and start as a freshman and then immediately transfer after Nick Saban retires to go to Ohio State and immediately start. And by the way, on both those teams, argument to be made, he's maybe the best player on the field at all times. Such a good football player with very few cons. The biggest cons, the potential knee injury stuff. He's not the biggest guy in the world, nor do I think he's like a high-level athlete. I think he probably would run like a 4.4 or something along those lines. But that's really it, right? There's some reps out there where maybe he's a little over-aggressive. Maybe we'll take a little bit of a gamble here and there, but it's very rare. He's so technically sound, plays with such high instincts, great play recognition, good feel in zone, good man coverage skills. He's just the total package. I think this is somebody who will be in the NFL for multiple years, and hopefully we'll get multiple massive contracts because I think he's going to be a fantastic football player. But if that knee injury ends up being a genuine issue for a safety, he might fall a little bit, which could happen to all these guys. The safety position is not a highly coveted position because it's a pretty deep class. Guys like Lewis Moore, Michael Taft, VJ Payne. I haven't talked about those guys at all, but those are all high-level players in their own right that could be taken and start in the NFL for a couple years. So Caleb Downs might be pushed down the board because of it, but again, he's a blue chip prospect for me. He's been a blue chip prospect since his freshman season. That's how damn good this guy is. So, yeah, guys, let me know in the comment section below. What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? And let me know your top 10 down below. And if you enjoyed, hit that like and subscribe button. And while you guys are down there, please check out the website. Link in the description is firstand10.net. Over there, we're building a really nice community, a lot of high-level stuff going on over there. So I'd really appreciate if you checked it out and made an account, did some mock drafts, things like that. Just check it out. I think you guys would enjoy it. Again, hit that like and subscribe button. I love you guys. Peace.